Hey, what's up? I love talking about books. I make book videos on a regular basis, and what I get asked quite a lot is, how do you read so much? And in all honesty, I don't feel like I read a lot. It's just that I make reading my priority. In New York City, I was working roughly 45 hours, and yet when I had a really good week, I read one book a week, which for me is a lot. And this video is not going to be about speed reading or how you can read as many books as possible. This video is simply going to be about how you can incorporate more reading into your life. My first tip is simply carry books with you wherever you go. Those books can be physical or digital. When I travel, I read all my books with my phone, and I use an app that's called Overdrive. It's linked to my library, and that's what I use. Whenever I'm living somewhere, when I lived in New York City and when I lived in London, I loved going to the local library because I do love the physical aspect of just smelling and simply reading through a book. So whether you carry your books with you digitally or actual physical books, make sure to have them with you at all times. Which brings me to my second tip. Get your books from the library or whichever source you're using that's free. The minute I went from buying books to getting them from the library, I started to read so much more. For obvious reasons, really. Getting books from the library is either free or really inexpensive. You get to read a lot of books. You can always return a book if you don't like it. And buying books is obviously costly. They end up taking up way too much space, and if you don't like a book and you've read it and have had it for a couple weeks, you may not be able to return it. So get your books from the library or from whichever source that's free or really inexpensive for you. Tip number 3 is keep a list. Now, I do this with my library account. Within my library account, I have a wish list of books that I would like to read in the near future. Whether you're into purchasing books or getting them from the library, having a list on hand keeps me personally really motivated and just really excited for new books. I also like to browse the internet about new bestsellers or new upcoming books, and that in itself keeps me really motivated to read more, and it also helps me to discover books that I may not otherwise discover. Tip number 4, you can always listen to books. The benefit of audiobooks is that you can listen to them in your car or whenever you're doing something. As for me, I can really only focus on one thing at a time. So listen to a book while I'm actually doing something doesn't work for me. However, if that's not an issue for you, then definitely give it a try, because that way you can incorporate a lot more reading into your day-to-day activities. And tip number 5 is keep an open mind. Oftentimes I'm reading books that I usually wouldn't read, just to read something different, to see if I like it, and to simply branch out a little. And that in itself oftentimes leads me to other books that I really, really enjoy. So even though this particular title may not have worked for me, it may lead me to other titles that I will really, really enjoy. Number 6, and that's the most important one, make reading your priority. When I was living in New York City, I took the tube 2 hours per day, and I spent those 2 hours reading. During lunch, after I was done with my food, I spent probably 45 minutes just reading, and I absolutely loved it. I read when I'm standing in a queue. I read when a friend is running late, and that's why I'm usually never too bothered when a friend is running late. Sometimes I'm excited because it gets me to finish a chapter or a really exciting part of a book. And as I said, just make it your priority and you will naturally read a lot more. Number 7, have a dedicated reading time. Now, I'm one who really enjoys to read in the mornings, and I'm usually not one to read at night. Why? Because it makes me sleepy. At night, my eyes get tired more quickly, and in the morning they're fresh, and I could read for hours. So when I was living in New York City, I always read shortly after I woke up, and then I read for an hour on the tube. And of course, everyone's different. All I'm trying to say with this is have a dedicated time in which you can read and enjoy to read. If you are more of a night person, then set aside time in the evening or night. If you are a morning person, maybe try reading in the morning. Just have a set time in which you read. Of course, you don't need to read, it's just that this time would be available for you to indulge in a really good book. And that personally has helped me to read a lot more, because I do really enjoy reading, and I'm just someone who needs to make time for it, because otherwise I would simply forget about it, really. And tip number 8, do what works best for you. I do really enjoy reading, and it's something that has always been a huge part of my life. And ever since I discovered the library in Austria, and then later in the UK, and then later in the US, I've just been absolutely hooked, and I enjoy reading so much more. As I said, in New York City I was working 45 hours a week, and I surprisingly read a whole bunch of books, and I really enjoyed it. Which brings me to the end of this video. If you have any tips on how to incorporate more reading into your life, please let me know. And of course, if you have a current favorite that you would like to share, please share it in the comments down below. I'm always looking forward to new books. Have a lovely day, and see you guys next time.